uncomfortable.
This shouldn't take too long.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Welcome back to One Team, One Podcast. It's Matt and Jack.
Yes, sir.
All right, so episode 23, right?
23. Jordan.
All right, for LSU players, though.
Pete.
Maravich? Oh,
Pistol.
It's got to be Pistol Pete. Pistol Pete episode, guys.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so
23 is retired, right?
basketball is retired, yeah. Football, though, is there any famous football players number 23? I don't know of any.
Micah Baskerville.
Is he 23 or 24?
Micah Baskerville's 23.
23? Okay.
So, no famous basketball.
Maybe this year. I don't know.
Oh,
Well, are we going to have a season?
Hey,
are we going to have a season? I don't know what's going on, guys.
Oh.
We're getting the news today has got me like
pretend like there's going to be a season.
I'm in a swivel chair right now, and I feel like just swiveling or all the way around over and over and over.
I've been pacing a lot today.
You've been pacing?
Mm-hmm.
I've been. You know what? I'm like, let these guys figure it out. I'm not going to have a heart attack over this.
Yeah, no. I've been pacing a lot.
Yeah?
I've just been pacing a lot.
You've been pacing. You're still nervous about it.
I just feel weird. Yesterday was the first time that it really hit me that, like, football season might not happen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just
I've always realized it was a possibility, but yesterday was the first time, like, it hit me.
Right.
When we thought the Big Ten was canceling. And still might.
Yeah, I think the Big Ten probably is going to cancel at this point. I think you're going to have a lot of teams that are not happy about that in the Big Ten because I feel like they didn't think it was their decision. I feel like you have some presidents that are getting involved, and I think there's a lot of politics that are going on right now, and it almost makes it to where it's out of everybody's hands. It's out of the coach's hands. It's out of the players' hands. And I know the players stepping up, I think, is probably the best thing that could ever happen.
That's the only thing we got.
It is. At this point, I'm still hoping for at least SEC just stand strong. But are they going to want to be the ones that they're the only ones just hanging out there playing? I don't know if they're going to want to take that PR.
I think one of the craziest things that happened today was right after it was announced, I guess fake announced that
Big 12, Big 10. I mean
that the Big 10 was done. You had Ohio State, like their athletics account was saying retweeting all the Ohio State players that were saying like, we want a season, we're working hard.
Right.
So like basically completely going against
the Big Ten's
their own
quote unquote decision.
Right.
Then Scott Frost has been the most vocal today from Nebraska.
That was awesome.
So saying, hey, look, we're ready to play wherever we need to go play. Basically, like, okay, if y'all want to say the Big Ten's not playing, then we're going to go find somewhere to play.
Right. And I'm not the biggest Jim Harbaugh fan.
Yeah, but he said the same thing.
He had that big long letter that he wrote today.
Right.
And just basically said everything that we were all thinking.
I think at the end of the day, I don't know what's going to happen for this season, to tell you the truth. I don't know if we're going to play or not. But what I think is going to happen on a positive note is this is just starting the process of the Power Five breaking away from the NCAA altogether and starting their own league. Nobody's stepping up and saying, this is what you need to do. This is what you can't do. They're leaving. The NCAA has completely got their hands up, and they're leaving it all up to the universities, the commissioners of the conferences to do whatever y'all want to do, and we're out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to – it's basically accelerating the process of the Power Five just breaking off and saying, okay, we're going to go do our own thing. NCAA, you don't want to make a decision on the NIL stuff. We'll make that decision for you. We're going to do it because we're not a part of you guys anymore, and we're going to schedule all Power Five games. We're not going to do anything other than that. It's going to make your schedules so much better.
Yeah.
And like more competition. You're going to have better rules in place for the students as far as the NIL stuff for sure. At this point, the LSU, for instance, they're at such a higher level than a group of 5 football team as far as like revenue coming in, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
They can do this kind of stuff. whereas another school, a smaller school, can't. Well, this is where you separate the men from the boys, and I think this is this is all happening, and it's a terrible thing that we may not have college football, but it's going to accelerate that process to where this never happens again.
I think there's a little issue with like nostalgia going on with some people that don't want us to break away, like the Power 5 to break away.
Because they love like an LSU Tulane matchup or something?
For some dumb reason, they love watching LSU pound ULM by 40 points, every couple years.
Well, and I think it's going to hurt the smaller schools. So
it will, absolutely.
I think they're going to have to figure it out because the Power 5 is just it's just a different place. But they've been relying on Power 5s playing them and getting money to come play them for years. I mean, it helps their budgets and all that kind of stuff. I just don't know how that's feasible anymore with this situation that we got going on. Yeah. I mean, this year alone is just an example where if we're going to play conference only, then what happens to UTSA this year? How much money were they planning on getting? I think it was like $2 or $3 million they were planning on getting to come to LSU.
Like that. It was a big number.
I mean, when these teams rely on that kind of stuff for their budgets and paying all these other sports they have, they're going to have some serious changes to make, I think. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my thoughts on all college football. But guys, we have a fantastic guest on the Courtesy Automotive hotline today. We have Coach John Brady, former LSU basketball coach John Brady, also the color announcer for LSU basketball now with Chris Blair. Great guy. We wanted to bring him on the podcast and we'll talk a little bit about college football because it's just such a hot topic today. But we're going to get into a lot of LSU basketball as well and his years at LSU. Really wanted to touch on that kind of stuff. Before we do that, big shout out to Courtesy Automotive Group, Courtesy Buick GMC in Lafayette. Brandon Lejeune is just rolling out. He's got 2020 deals like crazy, but he's got new 2021 Denali's coming in, and he's been posting some of them. And when he posts them, it goes viral. Like, people are sharing them like crazy. He posted one that had crazy rims on it. Marcus Spears reached out to him, wants to buy the Denali from that he posted on Facebook. No lie. Shit. Yeah. Oh, Marcus Spears reached out to him on Instagram and said, "Hey,
he listens to our podcast.
We'll get Marcus Spears on. Brandon, we need to get Marcus Spears on the podcast. We'll call his publicist. How about that?" So reach out to Brandon. I'm going to tag all of his information on here. Give Brandon a follow on Facebook because he's always going to post a deal. And whenever you post a deal, you have to act really fast. So if you want to get pre-approved for something, why don't you send him a message, give him all your information. He can do it while he's in Lafayette, wherever you are. Y'all can figure it out remotely. He can even deliver a car to you, man. It's just fantastic right now. So with that said, guys, I think we're going to go straight into our interview. Coach John Brady, and it's going to be a really fun time. I hope you guys enjoy it. Yeah. So here we go. You got us good? All right. Now we're cooking.
We're good.
All right, let's get comfortable now. This will be the shortest 3 hours of your life.
I love it. I'm not getting paid too. That's another thing.
Hey, so our little podcast here, it's called One Team, One Podcast.
Right.
And I have another podcast called Since We're on the Subject, and I've interviewed Jacques Doucet, Chris Blair, a couple of guys you would know, obviously. Charles Alexander, old-timer LSU football player. So we just had Herb Tyler on. So we've done a few of these interviews, but you're one of our first good ones on well, I should say we had Charles Hannegriff on last week on One Team, One Podcast. So.
Like you said, I'm your first good one.
Exactly. You're a big deal for us, man. All right, so here's the background on us. I'm 41.
Yes.
I was in school in the 90s at LSU. My nephew is Jack over here, and he's 21. So we have two different perspectives on stuff. I was just quizzing him on some research on John Brady just now, and I said the name Jabari Smith, and he said, "Who?" And I almost fell out of my chair, Coach.
Will Wade knows Jabari because his son is one of the top 10 players in the country this
That's
year.
Right. That's right. Yeah. He's trying to recruit him now. I mean, that's a done deal, right?
Absolutely.
There we go.
All we need to do is see him do a behind-the-back dunk, and we'll seal it there.
Against Arizona. Yeah, I remember that vividly.
Yes, we're going to talk about that in a second. All right, so first, Coach, we got to talk about a few things. When we scheduled you, we didn't know all hell was going to break loose with college football today, okay? I know you have your thoughts on college football, the players, and what they're making their stance now. What are your thoughts on what's going on right now in the landscape, and do you have any thoughts on like what may be happening here, especially with the SEC?
Well, it depends on. You got a couple of things going on there. You've got the how this originated. One side of it was the Black Lives Matter situation, which I support totally. I'm against anything of that nature.
Right.
I cut a video with Coach Wade invited me to cut a video with some of the former players and some players that I coached, and I was happy to do that. And then you have, coupled with that, you have this COVID situation going on, which I think really is the biggest deterrent about playing now, obviously.
Right.
And I think the balance is, Nick Saban told me a long time ago, he said, John, they say it's not about the money, but it's always about the money.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So I think some of the decisions that they're making, if they don't play football, the lost revenue that each school will not create. And then also I think there's a liability issue, which isn't talked about a lot.
Right.
That if they do play football and God forbid a player tests positive, and then you have a player or two pass away from it, then you're talking about possibly a lawsuit or that school being just torn apart in the media and criticized, and something they'll have to live with for a long time. So I think a lot of those factors, the money situation, the liability, which is another money situation, all of those things are going into the thought process. But I do like the way the SEC is taking its time,
right?
Because you're shooting at a moving target, so to speak, and who knows a month from now, what the numbers will say and what will indicate. So I think as a coach, particularly a football coach right now, has to be flexible in his approach, has a target date to play, progress toward that. But if the target date changes or moves back, you just adjust your practice schedule and your procedure based on the date that they're going to play. So I don't think they should eliminate the possibility of playing right now. I think it's still a wait and see, proceed cautiously as we move along. And then there comes a point in time where they will have to make a definitive decision. But I think the SEC is kind of still on a wait and see path with a plan in place. But as information is gathered, they're going to have to change along the way. That's just the times we're in. And players now have really – I think you really have to be flexible as a coach now, really smart as a coach now, because it's getting like professional sports where it's really all about the players now.
Right.
I used to say the college coaching game was all about coaches. The pro game was all about the players. Now I think college athletics is mirroring somewhat of the professional game, where it's more about the players now, and the coaches have to be as flexible as an NFL coach or an NBA coach.
Right.
And that makes it more challenging and more difficult to change the way it's been, to adapt the way I think that it's headed now.
Yeah, and the liability part, when you said that strikes me more than anything, of you knowing the behind the scenes. And when you mentioned Nick Saban, it brings me to another thing, your relationship with Nick Saban. I saw a picture recently it was an old picture with you and Saban sitting at a press conference together. It might have been right when he was hired. It might have been when he was hired, but I'm sure there was a lot of behind the scenes that goes on that, of course, fans will never know with this conference shuffle and what's going on. It's just crazy that all this coming to a head right now. But But my thoughts were, what about the players? Do you feel like they're in a safe spot as far as going to? They're basically in a quarantine area with their team, but then they go to class, and they're still going to be exposed somehow, and they're college kids, obviously, so they're not just in a bubble like the NBA is.
Right.
But how's that going to be sustainable? And do you feel like they're just going to be, if they did play, there would be kids with cases, and they just have to deal with it as it comes?
Well, if you're going to play and have contact as football is going to bring, and even basketball, we haven't got to that point yet, you're going to have cases pop up. You're going to have you're just going to have it's something you're not going to be immune to, and you're going to have to take the criticism for it or whatever plan you have in place. Now, different than when I was coaching, toward the end of my coaching career, internet courses became really popular, and we would have players that would take 12 or 15 hours on the internet and never get up and go to class. So you can quarantine a little bit like that. Most, I would say the majority of the classes now are on the internet where you don't physically go to class, although I'm a proponent of sitting in a classroom, having a relationship with the professor.
Learning social skills.
Yeah, I think all of that is positive, particularly if you're a marginal student. I think sometimes if you get involved with the professor from a personal standpoint, you may get, at the end of the day, a break. But if you do all your work over the internet, you have no relationship, and you're just a number. Right. And sometimes if you need a favor or some extra work, you're not going to be able to get it because the professor doesn't know you and you don't know him or her. So I think some of that, but in terms of the quarantine and being by yourself in isolation, internet classes, not going to class, not getting out within the student body, but the problem you're going to have is controlling your players at night, and what do they do after practice is over. You can't babysit them 24/7. You're going to have to sell them on the fact of being much more responsible than they normally would be in just a regular environment.
Right. I mean, it basically, you have to follow the NBA's lead at this point, right? Like, as much as you can. I mean, I know college football is completely different, but NFL, I almost feel like they're going to have to take the NBA model where it's you basically, the team is in a bubble, and you'll have to travel to another place, but you don't leave. Like, it's hard to of course enforce that, but they get paid obviously, whereas college kids don't.
Yeah, and I think, the NBA, they're isolating in Orlando, and in the bubble, they call it the bubble or whatever they describe it as. And, college athletics isn't going to be able to do that.
No.
They could localize the travel. You travel on a bus more than you do when you fly. But still, when you fly, you're on a charter flight. You're kind of self-contained within the people that are on that flight. You can control that to a degree. Hotels on the road, you really are going to have to control the players. You eat in a conference room, a private room. You have catered meals, and you can control it to a degree in that regard. So
constant testing, constant testing. I think they're going to probably, is what I heard, the testing. They're like 3 times a week kind of testing.
Yeah, basketball is working out now a little bit on the LSU campus, and individually and in groups of 2 or 3 possibly, and coaches are wearing masks when they do work the players out, and they are testing the players before and after, and they come in with a temperature gauge and all of those types of things that they're doing. But still, I think as careful as you are, and the plans that you have in place to make it a strict, safe environment, you're still going to have cases pop up, and you're going to have to react and control and have a plan for that as well. And one of the issues is when you're in season, particularly football, if you have several of your starters are tests, and you have to quarantine them, you're going to be playing with maybe some substitute players, second or third team guys, and maybe the quality of the game may not be as good because of that. But we'll just have to wait and see. But if they're going to decide to play, they're going to have to be able to deal with positive cases that come up. And then you just have to pray and hope that nothing tragic comes of the situation because of a player testing positive. And then that's another issue from the liability curve that I see. But then to take it a step farther, if they don't play football, the revenue that they're going to lose, how do they pay coaches, personnel within the athletic department? Do they borrow money off of next year's TV money they anticipate coming in next year if this thing calms down, and the SEC contribute then dollars to schools that need it to meet a budget of contracted coaches and people that work within the athletic department? That's another issue that some schools now are already feeling if they don't have the projected revenue that they want to receive from football this fall. So that's another issue about the money. Both ends, it's the money. The liability issue is the money in terms of maybe getting sued. And the other end is the money you're going to lose if you don't play football. So it's a tough situation to be in, and it's going to be interesting to see what each conference decides to do.
Yeah, and it's kind of brought us down a little bit today with all this talk. So yeah, and I know that I think one of the things they were talking about, I mean, like you said, they're looking at all this right now, and one of the things they were already looking at were insurance policies, because I know it's a huge. I mean, I think Hannegriff even said it on his show today. You're talking like football generated $80 million last year,
right?
So, and I think 25 to 30 of it, I think is what it was ticket sales alone. So I think we're already past the point where fans aren't going to be attending any games. So we're just wanting to see football at this point. But yeah, it's a complete money deal, and I completely agree with you. But we'll switch gears a little bit to some positive stuff. And to me, one of the most positive things that we have going on is we're huge LSU basketball fans. So the roster right now has got us so excited, and the direction that Will Wade has it has got us so excited. And one of the best things that I was thinking about with talking to you, Coach, because I experienced all the years with you. I have never, ever seen John Brady have 13 scholarship guys who could play on the floor. Never have I seen you do that.
Well, you're right. And I don't know if Dale Brown ever had 13.
I was trying to remember the last time we've had this much depth.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, one thing about Will Wade, not that I'm dropping names or saying anything. But
we love that, though.
I played golf with Will Saturday, and you know, he's upbeat about the whole thing, and he's a good golfer. But we would kid him if he'd make a putt. We'd say, "Don't make too many of those, or you'll be in the NIT next year, not the NCAA." So he makes sure he'd miss a few. So he's an NCAA coach, not an NIT coach.
I got you.
You know, he doesn't back off of expectation either. I mean, he said it himself. We've got good players. We're going to have a good team. His biggest issue is putting the right players on the floor at the right time, in the right situation, and getting them to play together and building team chemistry and camaraderie. He does have a returning, group that are really good. Smart, Watford, and Days coming back was huge for what they really want to do and the level they're going to be able to compete at. And then the players that he signed, the players he had sitting out, he'll tell you they're all good players and we have a really good team. So it's a shame that we can't start the season knowing the fans are going to be there and let Tiger fans participate in what this team, I think, can be about and how exciting and watch it develop along the way, because he's got good players in place. And one thing Will Wade has done, he has recruited extremely well since he's been there. And he handles and manages talented players really well. And not only do you have to recruit them, you've got to be able to coach them and bring them together as a workable unit. And he's been able to do that his first 3 years there.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that strikes me with Will Wade, as and it's nothing against you and Dale Brown or anybody else, but he has just been able to galvanize support for him. I mean, everybody that I talk to is super loyal for Will Wade.
Well, look, I got my own thoughts about that. I came in following Dale Brown. Dale Brown was there 25 years.
Absolutely.
I didn't care if they'd have as Joe Dean said, if they'd have resurrected Adolph Rupp and he came into LSU at that particular time.
Yeah.
It was Dale Brown falling 25 years. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Now, Will Wade did come in a situation where everybody was ready to get behind a new
I agree.
young coach.
I agree.
I mean, it was set up for him to do well. And not only was he personable and his opening press conference was really successful, he followed that up, taking a team that hadn't won and putting them on the floor and did a nice job, a really good job his first year. And I think with recruiting to back it up, he hit a perfect storm with our fans united wanting to support someone.
Right.
And he capitalized on that, and he's kept it going with the way he's recruited.
Absolutely. And so with that, what was I about to say? I was about to say something.
There's no way for me.
This is why we edit podcasts.
No way for me.
I had a great one too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Oh wait. Okay. So here's what it is. All right. So now he's got a roster in place. Potentially 13 guys that could actually see the floor. Maybe it's 12. Maybe it's 11. Something like that.
Yeah.
I finally feel like he's got a roster in place to where he can play his style a little bit better than what he has been playing. He's a little upbeat. I mean, he's a little fast, up and down a little bit. But I think defensively, this is finally the team that he needed to have with the depth to where he could play a little bit more aggressive on the defensive side. Do you agree with that or no?
Well, one thing his teams, the characteristic of his first three teams, they've all been able to score baskets.
Right.
We average 82, 83 points a game, and that's plenty of points. And I think he thinks the same way. Defensively, he just needs to be a little better. Probably they're really good at times, but more consistent, to defend every night is for extended periods of time as long as they possibly can. Defending well without fouling, and then when you make them miss it, go rebound it. And his teams has rebounded pretty well, actually.
Yes.
But just defending, particularly from the 3-point line, they haven't been really as good guarding the arc as some other teams. So I think that's something he's going to put emphasis on. He's got the length. He's got experience. He's got athleticism. He can go big. He can go small. They got a couple of 7-footers coming in. Mm-hmm. He's really high on this guy, Cam Thomas, from the prep school up at Oak Hill. He thinks he's an outstanding player. And the guy that I really liked last year before he got injured there toward the end was Charles Manning, and nobody mentions him anymore.
I know.
Everybody forgets about him.
I mean, that's gonna help your 3-point percentage against right there. I mean, what was that game? He blocked 2 in a row to win the game. I forget which game it was, but
I can't remember.
Yeah, that's a guy's got crazy hops and length. But I'm thinking too, like the press is going to be a little bit more involved this year, wouldn't you say? Like that diamond press, I love it. I love when he does it, but it's almost like he pulls it out when he needs to pull it out. And I always felt like it was because he didn't have the depth. But now he's got it to where, and he's got length. I mean, couldn't you see a guy like Charles Manning at the front of that with that kind of length and ability, just kind of being a nuisance on the defensive side?
Well, there's no question. Then you got Jalen Cook, the transfer from Georgetown, this local kid who's in there. He's
LeBlanc. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you got Days, you got Watt, you got Smart, who can play up there on a wing. He's quick and he's got some length too, and he's experienced. So there's a lot of things that he can do, and I think sometimes pressing. Maybe not for 40 minutes, but the timing of the press when you put it on someone. And then I think to extend it 3/4 or full court as he did some last year, and it was effective. And I think also it's going to help his half court 1-3-1 with the length they're going to have there and the depth they're going to have there too. So, and I think Will may go to some type of matchup zone where you kind of match up with the man in your area. The other team kind of plays zone, and you kind of disguise man-to-man coupled with zone defense, which I think will give some teams some problems because of the length and the quickness and the recovery that length allows you to have as a defender.
Right.
If you've got short arms and you recover, it's not like having a 7-foot wingspan and you close out on an offensive player with length. So those are things you recruit. You don't coach length. You don't coach athleticism. You don't coach speed and quickness. You recruit that. Right. And he's been able to do that. Now he's got a collection of, as you say, 11 or 12 deep, and they can all do some things on the floor that can lend itself to LSU having an outstanding team.
Like, we may have been 11 and 12 deep on some years, but then there was, I would say the 9, 10, 11, and 12 guy isn't going to see the court, right?
Well, a couple of times my 11, 12 guy was Jack Warner and Brandon Landry.
That's right.
So
some of the most the most
they walked on. There's a reason it's named walk-ons. But there's also, as a coach, I never was comfortable playing more than 8 guys, maybe 8.5 guys. That was probably my ticket. I wasn't smart enough to substitute and do those type of things. I had about 8 guys I relied on, and those are the guys, a backup point, a backup wing, and a backup 4 or 5. So that gave me 8 deep right there. So but Will's much more flexible with changing lineups, substituting players, getting everybody meaningful minutes at the right time. He's much better at that than I was. He kind of has that type of personality. I was a little more rigid in my thinking. He's a little more wide open.
Rigid? I would never have considered you rigid, Coach.
Well, I was kind of rigid, I think. But, hey, you got to coach to what you're comfortable with in your personality. And sometimes it maybe rubs someone the wrong way. Will's a little more looser than that, than I was. But I think it's a sign of the times, too. And I think as a young coach, I'm a 65-year-old guy. He's a 38, 39-year-old guy. So there's a lot of years in there in between. And my approach on the radio has never been to say this is the right way or the wrong way. Right. There's a lot of different ways to coach any sport, whether it's football, basketball, or whatever. And I think the coach needs to coach his personality, get his personality into the team on a consistent basis. That's what Will's been able to do. And I think that's why you've seen the team improve as the year goes along, because he's consistent with his approach and how he's teaching it.
Yeah, and the analytics involved now. Was that like that for you guys, as far as all the little things that he records and he looks at? It's just amazing.
Yeah, I was never like that. I was more of an off-the-cuff sort of feel guy. I studied the stats, and as I talk on the radio with Chris Blair, my big stat is the field goal stat. I think everything comes off of that. If you win the field goal stat, most of the time you can win the game. Now, if you lose the field goal stat, you better defend well, make them miss. You better get to the foul line. You better not turn it over. But if you shoot a high field goal percentage, it can cover a multitude of other things that you don't do well because you're still scoring baskets.
Right.
It's when you don't shoot it well, you can't score it. You better turn them over, get easy baskets. You better get fouled, get to the foul line. You better find other ways to score it if you can't win the field goal stat. And I think in Will's 3 years, I don't know if he's won only 2 or 3 games where he has lost the field goal stat. So that indicates to me, on the defensive end, if they get a little bit better, then they can win games and not win the field goal stat. That means you're doing a lot of other little things well. And if this team does that, wow, they could be, Sweet 16, Lead 8, and who knows? You get luckier too.
Depends on your draw at that point, right?
That's right. You can roll into the Final Four and do something really special.
Man, we're super excited, and one of our good friends for the podcast is a good friend of yours, is Jordy Collada, and we Jordy said he said, man, I can't wait for you to talk to Coach, but we actually gave him his shirt that he has on his studio, the "Don't Be a Dick" Dick Vitale shirt. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but that was us. We made that shirt. So we have to ask you, what are your thoughts on Dick Vitale?
Dick was always good to me, but I just can't. I don't know if he's trying to keep himself involved or relevant or whatever the case may be, and I would hate to think that Dick Vitale's got a vendetta against LSU or Will Wade. Right. I would hope not. And the thing that he brought up about Dale Brown and Dick Vitale's relationship, I don't know anything about that. I would hate if that is true. Mm-hmm. My approach, I was never upset or mad at LSU for anything that happened to me there, good or bad. Right. I chose to be the head coach at LSU. Joe Dean wanted me to be the coach. I entered that situation, and when you enter it at that level, you understand anything can happen, good and bad.
Right.
And so but I always appreciated the opportunity Joe Dean gave me to show what I could do at that level, and I stand on those 11 years, and I stand on the team I left. The team I left did win the league. I mean, it wasn't like we had bad players and the team wasn't any good. So, but I'm not bitter at all, and I would hope Dale Brown would be for everything that Will Wade and LSU's doing in a positive way and try to help that. Because he did have a 25-year career there, and LSU, the last 4 seasons stood with him in terms of when the team wasn't as good as we all wanted it to be. So, but Dick Vitale, I don't talk to Dick Vitale like that. I don't. You know, he was good to me in my time there, but I don't have a relationship with him, and I would hope that he wants the best for LSU, regardless of who the coach is. And it's just unfortunate that he would come out and say things that he doesn't know for sure, directed at Will Wade's program. And look, Will Wade personally, actually.
Yeah.
You know, I've always said this. When I sat in that chair 11 years or so or whatever it was, if you recorded every conversation I had with some Yahoo AAU guy, it'd be a comic book strip. I mean, it would be hilarious. Say, no, he didn't say that. Yeah, I did. I said a lot of stupid things. And it is a conversation of violation. That's what I've always said.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of crazy conversations in my time. There were a lot of goofballs on the other end. So, you know, so I don't put any stock into that unless the NCAA blows in there and does something really ridiculous. Otherwise, it's a moot point with me. Yeah. Concentrate on this team, the recruiting he's been able to do, what this team can possibly become with the support of the fans.
Yep.
That's what I'm looking forward to. And Will Wade has been really good to John Brady now. I have to tell you that. He is really good to me.
Well, y'all are playing golf. Where y'all playing golf at? I think we need to do a foursome is what it needs to happen.
Well, look, I got him on my team now. I mean, he can hit it a little bit.
He can't.
We went over to the Bluffs and played. It's not as good a shape as it used to be, but it's still a great layout.
I got some friends that live on the course on hole number 4. That's the worst hole in the world to me, hole number 4. You got to hit it uphill. It's a par 3. What, 200 yards? I got a bad back, Coach. I can't get it up there, man.
Yeah, I don't want you on my team.
Yeah, he doesn't want me on his team. Well, let's go back to your years at LSU, Coach, because I feel like you came into like – I mean, a pit at LSU where you had to build it from ground up. You brought players in. I remember that first year. You brought players in for JUCO. You brought a whole bunch of guys in, and that was, to me, such a fun team because it felt like they were finally getting their shot on a good stage. But bring us back to those early years for you.
Well, I think people kind of forget it. You know, if it happened in today's world, what happened to that team? I mean, 4 straight losing seasons for one, we came in on. The second thing is they took 9 scholarships away from us, 3 scholarships a year the first 3 years. Back then, you could have 12 official visits. The first 3 years, they only allowed us 6 official visits. So they took away 18 official visits from us. They limited our recruiting days. I mean, it was close to just, you know, a death penalty actually. And in that 2000 year, we won the league with 9 scholarship players was all we were allowed to have. So it wasn't, you know, and then the restrictions hit us even worse in the 4th year. You know, that's when it hurts you is you're not able to recruit as you normally could. So we lose 9 scholarships over a 3-year period. And for basketball, that's a lot. You know, percentage-wise with football, it'd be about 17 or 18 over a 3-year period, and that'd be devastating to a football program. So it was but it was that's one reason I got the job. I mean, you know, let's be honest. I mean, you know, it wasn't like when the job came open, nobody in Baton Rouge was holding up hire John Brady.
I was at the game where y'all beat us.
Yeah, well, that's right. Sanford came in there. We did play pretty well.
Yeah, they took it to us.
Yeah, and Jonathan Pixley was really good that night. I don't know if y'all know Jonathan there, though, but Pixley.
He was shooting a lot of threes, wasn't he?
Yeah, he shot threes from Baton Rouge, played at Catholic,
I
coaching.
think he coached me one spring, actually.
At Catholic High?
Not at Catholic. I went to just a spring camp, and he coached me.
Okay, so he was coaching him there. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, he's at Dunham over there coaching. Won the state championship, but he's a good guy. But it was tough. But the first team, Lee Feinswag tells me the whole time that first year's team he saw us was the best coach team that I had in my tenure.
I loved it. Yeah.
Well, we tried to defend. If we didn't try to defend and rebound, we had no chance. So we tried to play a little patient offensively, not put as much shots up in the air, so the other team couldn't shoot a lot. So we had less attempts at the goal. We played a little more deliberate. We tried to guard well, limit teams to one shot, and make them guard us as opposed to us guarding them for extended periods of time. And we kind of played pretty well, actually. And then we signed Stromiles Swift, and then we got to Bar.
Everything changed.
Bar, it changed it. I mean, Stromiles changed it forever for all of us. And, then we hit a vein there, really, where we were able to get local players. Baton Rouge turned out some really good players in about
Parkview for sure. I remember that. Parkview. That was that Garrett Temple. Am I right? No.
Garrett was at U High.
Yeah, who were those? It was like 3 or 4 of them, all from Parkview one year, and it was like they won the state championship.
Jermaine Williams was on that team. Marcus Ledoux was on that team.
Marcus Ledoux.
And he transferred because he wanted to go somewhere else and play more because we started getting some good players. But you take that Final Four team in 2006. Our top 6 players right there in Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge, Denham Springs, and St. Martinville, and Darnell Lazard came off the bench that year. He's from Woodlawn. And then you got Glenn and Tyrus Thomas and Garrett Temple and Daryl Mitchell and Taswin Mitchell, all those guys from right there. Glenn Davis, all those guys from right there. And we were able to get those guys. And I think that team in 2006 with the top 6 players, 4 from Baton Rouge, 1 from St. Martinville, 1 from Denham Springs. I don't know if that'll ever be duplicated again. Now, I hope they go to the Final Four and win it, but I don't know if they're going to ever do it with a collection of players that were homegrown within 50 miles of Baton Rouge and win the SEC outright, go to the Final Four. That was a special group.
That was a very special connection that everybody had, especially with the team, but then the team had with LSU, it felt like, and it was just like, we're doing it for Baton Rouge. And it wasn't just, like you said, it's not a guy from, Massachusetts coming in here and playing a year or anything like that. No, it's a guy from McKinley, that means a lot to Baton Rouge, and Baton Rouge is very big on their home guys, And I think that. That's why you're back here again, right? Like it's something about Baton Rouge for a lot of people.
Well, I love it. I like doing what I'm doing. I'm in a good place.
Yeah.
People coming back to Baton Rouge and being involved with the team in the way that I am with Chris Blair, who's outstanding,
fantastic.
By the way.
And I'm a big Jim Hawthorne lover, and just because of the era that I grew up in, it feels like every era has got their announcer. Like my dad's got John Ferguson, I got Jim Hawthorne. You probably got Chris Blair now. I mean, it's just who we're familiar with. But Chris is fantastic and stepped into it's almost like you had Dale Brown. Yeah. He followed Jim Hawthorne for crying out. We just had Jim Hawthorne on our other podcast, but Chris Blair has done a great job with that and just taking it by the wings. So you got a great partner.
He has, and the people have been really kind to me coming back there. I mean, it's been really good, and I'm appreciative of the athletic department and Will Wade in particular, and Chris Blair allowing me to do what I'm doing with the basketball, and I'm the Joe Dean to John Ferguson guy, I'm a string music man. So,
I hear you.
But it's been fun, and I enjoy it. And it's too bad this year that the fans can't jump on this team from the beginning.
Yeah. Maybe you feel like that's gonna be paused. You would believe just because it's indoors and all that, right?
Well, I hope. I can't see them just letting it sell out and everybody sitting by each other. Maybe they spread it out and everybody within 4 or 5 seats of one another, and you have to wear a mask. Maybe it'll get to that.
Yeah.
But it would be a great thing to be able for Tiger fans to watch what this team can become during the course of 30 games or so.
No, I completely agree with that. Now, all right, so let's talk about some of your. We'll start with Tyrus Thomas because we had a couple of questions from some of our fans about what we were going to ask you, and one of the questions, and I heard this a couple of times from 2 different people. Why did you redshirt Tyrus Thomas?
Well, I have to go back to what
hot
we
topic
had there.
Apparently. Hot topic.
I'd have to go back on that team. We had Glenn Davis there. You had Brandon Bass there.
Yeah.
I don't know who. I'd have to look at the roster. There was a reason for that, and the other reason was.
Did you have Dupree still there?
Ron Dupree was hanging around his senior year, and we had some good guys there, but you got to go back. Tyrus Thomas coming out of high school was 6'7", a little over 6'7". He was long. He was really thin. He was athletic, but we didn't think he was quite ready, and I didn't want him to waste a year of playing 5 or 6 minutes a game. Because we had success with Collis the third being redshirted. We had success with Garrett being redshirted.
Yeah.
And I think it's easier for a guy to redshirt if he's local like that. He can still
he's still there, right?
Around, as opposed to being isolated by himself. So it kind of worked out, and we talked him into it and had the support of his family. And then John Treloar used to work Tyrus out every morning, 6:30, 7 o'clock for an hour and a half or so before school. And Tyrus went from a little over 6'7" to right under 6'9" and gained 20 pounds in a year. And his redshirt freshman year, if you recall, he didn't start the first 7 games.
Right.
We started Darnell Lazar in his place, and then it just became obvious. We were in Vegas, and we were about to play Cincinnati, and it was obvious that Tyrus deserved to start. And so I called Darnell in, and we called his parents and told him we were going to make a change in the lineup. I wanted to make sure he was involved and understood it, and Darnell was great about it. We started Tyrus then, and then all of a sudden we started getting pretty good. And then we played Connecticut. I think they were top 2 or 3 in the country.
Yeah, it was on CBS. It was on CBS, and it was like at a coming out party almost, right?
Yeah, he was unbelievable. And Daryl Mitchell missed a shot. The only shot Daryl Mitchell missed that year at the buzzer to win the game.
Right.
And so from that point on, our team started gelling. We started playing really well, and then boom, that weekend in Atlanta was as special a weekend as one of the top weekends LSU's ever had in basketball, in my opinion, to be number 1 seed and number 5 Texas.
It was amazing. And before we bring you on the interview, we have a little clip that we're going to put on the podcast, and it's about Dick Enberg making the call of LSU going to the Final Four and all that. So it was a great moment for LSU basketball, and especially because of the guys that were there. And one thing with Tyrus Thomas, I'll never forget, there is a picture that I have to find somewhere, and I think it was from the Advocate or something. And I think it was there was 2 pictures probably. It was it was an Alabama game at home, and there was an alley-oop, and they called him full extension. Over the goal. His head is right at the rim, and he's got it fully extended or something like that. I forget the exact picture, but it was such an amazing picture. But that was just kind of the athletic ability. It just popped, and it was like, where did this come from?
Yeah, he was. I tell everybody I taught him how to jump, but everybody knows that's not true. I still see Tyrus now. He and I've been to Denver.
Yeah, he's still around.
Times. Yeah, he comes to games, and he's back in school, wanting to get his degree, wants to get into coaching high school and that sort of thing. So he's married, has a baby now in the last year, and so he's done really well. I'm proud of him, and I always got along with Tyrus really well. He and I got along really well, and it's great to come back and see him at games and have a relationship with him after all this is said and done. That's the best thing about it.
Well, and when a guy like that is only there for a short amount of time, he becomes like a phenomenon, and that's what I feel like Tyrus Thomas is. It's just one of those guys who are just like, wow, look at all the potential this guy has. But it all worked out because he got drafted where he was drafted. I mean, like everything did great for him, but. Tell us about some of your other favorite players at LSU during your time there. Who are some other guys that come to mind?
Well, certainly Stromile Swift was the one that broke it open for us, and then Jabari Smith was on that team. Lamont Rowland, Torres Bright, all those guys.
Lamont Rowland, if he doesn't hurt himself against Tennessee, Coach, it's killing you now. I can see it in your face.
Well, that was we were down to about 7 scholarship players that year after Stromile went pro early, and Jabari graduated, and I'll tell you another tough-minded guy that played for me a couple of years there was Brian Bashir. I don't know if y'all remember.
Yes,
Brian.
I remember Brian Bashir.
He was another
shooting threes from the corner. Yeah.
But he was good. But guys like Daryl Mitchell was special with his career at LSU, 4-year starter. Tasman Mitchell was special. Both the Temple guys were excellent. Great for me.
Guys. Yeah.
High character guys. Brandon Bass was super hard. Maybe as hard a working guys we've ever had. Ronald Dupree was a high character guy. You could, and then that Final Four team with Darnell Lazar and Glenn, those guys all got along so well. Just special guys. And there's another guy that people don't talk about a lot was Antonio Hudson at Grambling up there at North. He was a really solid player for us and really a good guy and done well coaching now and a lot of those guys, particularly the local guys that we had, were really, really special. And it's like Will shared with me that the time that I was there, a lot of our guys that we recruited and coached, they come back to LSU. They're around all the time. They're part of the program. And Will has mentioned that to me a couple of times. Said, them guys that you coach, they have a love for LSU, and that's good. And I'm glad they do because that's the way it ought to be.
Well, one of the guys you mentioned, I have a story that it's kind of like a rumor, and I'm not sure if it was really true, but you would know it's true. Torres Bright in high school, there is a story, and I remember how he used to do this. Sometimes he would pull his mouthpiece out of his mouth and then call the play with his other hand, and the ball is still dribbling, and then and the guy's on him. Well, there was a story that I heard. And I think they were playing Woodlawn, if I remember right, because I know the guy who told me the story. But in the game, he took his mouthpiece out, and he was jawing with the other guy, and he ended up just slugging the other guy, knocking him out. Did that happen?
Well, I don't know that story, but
it made him like larger than life for me. So
Torres Bright was a tough-minded competitor.
I love Torres Bright, Coach.
Loved to play. I started him from day one.
Yeah. He was big time, man.
Yeah, he played. He started every single game except one. I don't know if he's a sophomore, junior year. We played in New Orleans and played at the Sugar Bowl tournament when they had it down there, and we had a little curfew, like maybe 11 o'clock, and we couldn't locate him till about 2 in. So I kind of was a tough guy. I didn't start him that day and held him out for 10 minutes and then put him in the game.
That's great.
I was really tough.
Yeah, you're real hard on him. Yeah. You only had 5 guys to play, so you had to play.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so we'll got a couple other questions from some other fans, and we'll get you out of here, Coach. And I know one of the questions was, and I don't know why they're even asking me these questions, but they're asking me. Your relationship with Josh Maravich. Did you not like Josh Maravich?
No, I tell you. Let me tell you what I did when I came.
I don't know anything about this. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, Josh Maravich, I talk to Josh all the time now.
Okay.
I went over when I came back to town. I drove over to Covington, sat down with him and his mother, and we both made some mistakes in our relationship. We really did, and I'll admit to that. But now we're good. I went over and sat down and had a 2-hour visit with them in their home, and Josh and I we're good. And
all right, Roy Edwards, that's for you, Roy Edwards. Roy Edwards wanted to know that question. The other question was your relationship with Tack Minor.
Oh my goodness!
Do we have enough time for that?
Tack and I had an up and down relationship. And let me tell you, when Tack was right, he was really good, but he just had so many other issues. That went on with him. Nothing terribly bad. He wasn't like he was anything like wasn't on. He was always on time. He just school wasn't his thing, and he couldn't keep his eye on his own paper sometimes, and we had some issues there. And he was just an emotional point guard, too emotional to play that position, really. And but
like you said, when he was right, ain't nobody gonna guard that guy.
He was good.
Nobody's gonna guard him.
It happens, and Butch Pierre signed him, so I'm gonna put that one on Butch.
That's on Butch. All right, we're gonna get Butch on. All right, well, we're gonna.
Tax in Houston now, he's doing well, and so I still have talked to him. When we went over to play Houston, I saw Tax, so we're fine. But it happens in coaching sometimes. You're gonna have some good ones, and you're gonna have some guys that maybe don't work out.
Well, I got all the tough ones out of the way, Coach. So, all right, we're gonna try to hook up with Will Wade, or we're gonna do a foursome sometime. So we're gonna get Will on the podcast too eventually. But first. Yeah, I got to get my back right though. It's not gonna happen until that happens. We're not playing at the Bluffs for sure, especially that par 5 where you can go 2 different ways. You just aim for the middle. Down. You aim for the middle, and you just figure it out from there.
Well, you know the course well.
I do it. I can guide you around pretty well. You just don't want me playing with you.
Yeah, well, I got Will on my team. We'll play you and whoever else you want to play.
All right.
What does Will Wade usually shoot?
What's his handicap? Will Wade.
Will can throw a low 80 on you. He can throw a 81, 82 at you. He can really drive it off the tee. He's really good off the box. I mean, he can hit it a ton.
Okay.
And if he makes a couple of putts along the way, he's a between an 80 and 83 guy, I think, on a consistent basis.
What about you, Coach?
Probably about 85 or so. My handicap will travel a little bit.
Well, we're not playing for money then.
Yeah, well, goodness. You got to spot you 20, huh?
Well, I don't know. We'll see, but it'll be fun though. Be fun.
Yeah, Coach. Or we'll get Jordy Collada involved too, for sure. So
absolutely.
We really, really appreciate this, Coach. We may even have you back on again closer to the basketball season if you like, and then maybe we can do that a little bit more reoccurring. We'll have to come up with a segment name for it. Brady Anytime. Ball. I guess we can do Brady Ball. It's not happening anymore, right?
I remember that.
Brady Ball. Well, I'll make some new T-shirts again. We'll get it all started for you, Coach. All right, we really appreciate this. All right.
All right, guys. Thank you. Enjoyed it. Appreciate it. All right. Bye-bye.
Jeez.
Oh, I can still hear him.
He was about a hot mic. He was about a hot mic.
Okay, so you want to go into the outro first?
He was about a hot mic.
Man, you wanted to keep it on? I'm sorry. He said, God, these fucking guys.
I think he was about a hot mic.
All right, so we just ended our interview with Tack Miner. We just ended our interview with John Brady. I think we caught Coach Brady on a hot mic at the end too, and I think he was about to say these fucking guys with this Tack Miner question.
Fucking jackasses.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic. That guy,
was a fun interview.
That guy is a legend, man. I don't care what anybody ever says about Coach Brady. I'm like all. Because he had some up and down years, but a lot of that was out of his control. The guys he brought in, you go to the Sweet 16, you go to the Final Four.
Yeah,
I mean, he's beloved here, and then coming back here, and now he's an announcer. That's our guy. That's my guy.
Yeah,
that's my guy. I was in the college years. I rushed the floor against Arizona. Rushed the floor against Ole Miss when we won the SEC in 2000. Bringing all the Baton Rouge guys together. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. And then his talks about college football. Let's talk about that a little bit. Him talking about it, not only, of course, the money and all that, but like the liability part.
Stuff.
Oh, my gosh.
That's probably the touchiest part of all this, isn't it?
Well, it's the part that's when the presidents are stepping in, right? Like that's when they're getting involved and saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. Also PR stuff. He talked about that a lot too.
Is the PR stuff.
The PR, nobody wants to be the last one holding the bag, and nobody wants to get sued because a player got sick.
Right.
That's a lot of moving parts, man.
I think even the biggest thing with it too is that like you can have players sign the waivers and like you take the legality of it all out, but you still have the bad PR of, a player gets the coronavirus and you're playing football. Yeah. And then people are saying, oh, well, if you wouldn't have played football, then he probably wouldn't have gotten the coronavirus. And whether that's true or not, it's just still – it looks bad. It's it's not good PR.
Absolutely. So, fantastic interview. Love talking to him about, the Dick Vitale stuff.
Oh,
Come on, bro.
I didn't think he'd say
Let's
anything
go.
about that.
Let's go. I didn't think he was going to say anything either. We got him. We got it. It's recorded. I think we got everybody's questions out of the way. Again, hey, guys, big shout out to our sponsor, Courtesy Buick GMC in Lafayette. The guys have been so good to us. Brandon Lejeune, Court Williams. We've got all their stuff up here. Check it out. But we're going to tag all of Brandon's info too. Like him on Facebook. He's going to post deals for you. And if you ever need a quote on something or let him run your numbers, send him a message and he can do it all for you in Lafayette. He can even deliver a vehicle to you, man. It's super convenient now. So reach out to Brandon Lejeune at Courtesy Buick GMC. Also, we got a big one of our fans, Roy Edwards. He is setting up a private signing for Cecil Collins coming up.
Nice.
That'll be September 12th, I believe is the date. He has got a Facebook page as well that we're going to tag, and it's Spain Hour Sports Collectibles. It's Spain like the country, and then hour like an hourglass. So Spain Hour Sports Collectibles. We'll post that again. But Roy Edwards is going to set up a private signing for Cecil Collins. So if anybody wants to get anything signed by Cecil, they can do it and just reach out to him and message Roy. We would really, really appreciate that. With that, guys, I guess we are going to cut it short tonight. We really appreciate all of our followers. We were on Facebook Live earlier. We really appreciate that. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter at One Team One Pod on Twitter. And then also go to our shop page, guys. It's oneteamonepodcast.com. You can go to our shop page from there, and you can view all of our old episodes from there as well. We really appreciate everybody that's been supporting us. And with that, we will talk to you next week. Not next week.
Wednesday.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.